Well, this morning, some of y'all know what's coming. Y'all have been here for the Marvel message before. I have a little bit of maybe a little bit different idea or thought behind it today that I want to share with you because what today's message is, it's a little bit heavy. I know it's Mother's Day, and we have some fun stuff. If you haven't done it yet, we have a picture booth outside, so take that with your family. I've seen a few of y'all just be like, no, my kids are already in kids' church. I'm leaving them there, and I'm going to go take a pic by myself. In fact, I've talked to a few of y'all. Y'all's gift for Mother's Day was not being mothers. Be like, yeah, we're going away. We're leaving our kids with the grandparents, and we're gone for 2 days. And so a couple of y'all are just like, your favorite gift today is not being a mom. So listen up, get dads, all right? Take your kids somewhere. Be gone for like at least, 8 hours, ladies? At least 8 hours. And let them do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. So it's crazy that the one thing that we want to celebrate on Mother's Day is not being a mom. But it's awesome when you can not be a parent for a few hours when your kids get old enough to do their own thing, or you take them to grandma's house. I've seen videos where people will show up to their aunt's house, the sister's house of the mom, and drop the kids off, and they'll knock on the door. The mom stays inside the car, and when the sister opens the door, the aunt opens the door, the mom just like waves and heads out. Like they got their bag and everything right there. Like, I'm rolling out, you're babysitting, I'm gone. So sometimes you just have to do that. You got to get out. Parenting is an awesome experience. Parenting is something that sometimes we struggle with. We don't know what to do. Today's message, I want to give you some ways maybe we can buy back some time. And so I want to share with you a couple of scriptures. This is a very powerful scripture here that I want to give you. It says, making the most of the time, the very most of the time that we have. And what it's really saying there in the parentheses is really telling you what it really means. Here's what it really means: buying up each opportunity. So what he's saying there is make sure you buy up every opportunity you can because the days are evil. And so today I want to talk to you about how to do that. How in the world do we buy up time? I mean, I know it's the Bible, the Bible's pretty clear that time is fleeting and, all those things are happening. And we know in our own life that time is kind of slipping away from us. So how in the world do we buy up time? In fact, today's message is called buying time. So I'm going to give you 3 ways the Bible tells us that we can actually buy time. But let me tell you what these marbles mean if you haven't seen this before. Each one of these marbles represents a week of a week of your child's life. So there are a couple of stages that we have here. This is birth. So if you have a child that's just like newly born, like infant, when they turn 18, your marbles all will be gone. Okay, so the idea is from birth to 18, you have this many marbles, which is 936 marbles. You have 936 weeks with an infant until they turn 18. And when they turn 18, you never know what's going to happen. Go off to college. Some of them get married. Like 18 is kind of the age where at some point you just can't, you can't take them and spank them, right? You can't just, taking stuff from them just doesn't anymore because they got their own job. They go buy their own stuff. So that's why we kind of pick 18. But 18 is kind of that age where they're either going to stand on their own, they're either going to fly or they're not. And if they don't, you got to pick them back up. And sometimes they stay in your nest until they're 35. No, Shane's like, no, we have a deadline. My brother didn't move out till he was 27, and he was planning on adding a bathroom on the backside of the house so him and his wife could come live there whenever they did get married. That might work for you. I don't know, but we got to buy back that time. We just look up and our kids are getting older. So this is 936 marbles, and there's exactly 936 marbles in here. And this is what it looks like if you have a child that's an infant. So if you have a baby, you got 936 weeks with that baby. And what I want to tell you today is how do you buy back these times? How do you buy back these marbles? How do you get this time and make it count? And really what he's telling us is how do you invest that time into tomorrow? That's really the idea and the thought is it's not, you actually don't get the time back, but you're putting investments into today's time so that you get that time back tomorrow. We've seen that. You've seen that with family and friends who have children who they kind of went astray or something bad happened or they got angry with one another. They didn't talk for years and years and years. And so you've lost that time. Everything you're doing today is not investing into the future. You're trying to get that time back and you can't. So I'm going to give you 3 ways you can do that. Let me real quick, let me walk through these. This is a newborn, so you have 936 marbles. Then if your child is turning about 5 years old, this is what it looks like. The 676 marbles in this jar right here. So you have 676 weeks with your 5-year-old left before they turn 18. That's not a lot. All right, you don't have a whole lot of time left with them. So I know that sounds like you do, and it seems like you do, and they're never going to get themselves dressed and never going to bathe themselves. I can remember those days when our girls are 13 months apart, so it was tough. And I can remember those moments where I went, hey, man, they dressed themselves today. They can bathe themselves. Hey, look, they don't even need a car seat anymore. I remember those days where, man, when you go somewhere, parents, when you go somewhere, you got to bring the whole house with you. That's frustrating. I can remember those days where we just got to pile in the car, no diaper bag, no car seats. Man, it was awesome. But I look back and go, man, just a few more hours in that moment of time when they had a car seat, when they were little babies, and I could rock them to sleep. Because, at some point your kids don't fit in your lap anymore. And you wish that you had that time back. You wish you could just buy back that time. I think about those moments, and every once in a while we get a crazy idea and think, man, another baby would be cool. Let's let our kid have one. You know what I mean? Because those moments of just cuddling up in the bed, some of my kids like to cuddle, so you can lay in bed with them and cuddle, or they come sit in your lap, or they want you to read them a book, or you get to play a game with them. And I want those moments back, but I don't want everything that goes with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want the sleepless nights, and I don't want the headache of trying to figure out what to do next and how to help decide if I should send them, this kid wants to go to this dance, should I let them go or not, because I know what's going on over there. And all those stressful moments. And so all that comes with it, and if we're not careful, we'll spend so much time and energy and effort working on how to get through this time that we're not really investing anything into it. So we got to be careful. So this is your birth. This is 5-year-old. This is what it looks like when you have a 13-year-old. So you have a little bit fewer marbles. You have 260 marbles if your kid turns to be a teenager. 260 weekends, weeks, that's what you get, 260. Now, I've done this message before. Some of you have actually taken jars with marbles, and then as the weeks go by, and it's exciting and a little bit depressing to realize that week is gone. But my question is, what is it worth? What did you do with it? Did you make that time count? Did you invest into them? Did you pour into them? Or were you a hypocrite doing the thing you're telling them not to do? Don't be angry. Don't say, and then you get angry over something silly and crazy that somebody did to you. Well, yours is justified because you're an adult. No, you're a hypocrite. Yeah, that stung, didn't it? Happy Mother's Day. You're a hypocrite. It wasn't that long ago I was in a public setting, and there was a couple of parents sitting there, and they called their kid up, and the kid comes up, and she knew she was in trouble just by the look on her face, and she was like, wait, what did I do? And then the dad said, well, you're being, and then he called her a cuss word. I'm like, well, that ain't good. I'm going to watch what happens here. And then he proceeded to get on to her for saying a cuss word. You just called her one. That's what you call a hypocrite. If you're doing stuff that's not healthy in your family, don't get on your kids for doing the thing that you're doing. It's called a hypocrisy, right? If you want your kids to read the Bible, what should you do? Read the Bible. You want your kids to go be in church when they get older? Be in church. You want them in a group? Get them in a group. If you don't want them to cuss, don't cuss in front of them. Don't want them on alcohol? Don't drink alcohol. It's real easy. Don't be a hypocrite. Make these moments count. Your kids are watching you. They're watching you. They're watching you. And every one of these moments, every time that we spend time doing something we shouldn't do or acting like we shouldn't act or saying what we shouldn't say. And let me I didn't say this in the first service, but I got to throw it out there. Please don't be little people. Don't be little people of authority who are in authority over your kids in front of your kids. If you don't like one of the teachers, don't say anything in front of your kids about their teacher. Please. This is just a little bit of parenting advice right here. I saw a meme. I wanted to show it, but I should have. But it was a mom and a little kid who was being picked on, and the mom's child was sitting here, and her tongue stretched from her face through the kid's head, and it came out his tongue. And he was the one belittling the little kid. Because that's what they do. But guess who they're watching? Us. Our kids are watching us. I've shared this. Some of you know this story, but we were getting out of the van one day at the house, and we came home from church. This was years ago before we started the church. And so Megan or Emily, one of them grabbed their Bible out of the van, and they went, oh, I'm going to leave mine in the car like Dad does. In other words, I wasn't reading it in the house, and she picked up on the fact that it just stayed in the vehicle. Whew, that stung. She was probably 13. That was 8-10 years ago. They're watching us. And so we got to buy back this time. We got to be smart with what we do. So you have a birth. You have somebody who's in a 5-year-old, a teenager, and this is what a 16-year-old jar looks like. Guess what? I have a son that's 16. In fact, he'll be 17 in September. So I have about 75 marbles left with him. I'm young, y'all. I'm only 43. I'll be 44 Tuesday. And look, if Kai does what the girls did, this is what Stephanie said this morning, that he's going to be gone because they blinked. They graduated, blinked, went to college, and they got married and rolled out. But praise Jesus, got a grandbaby on the way. That's what it's all about right there. And so September, we will have another one floating around, so we get to do all the goo-goo and gaga over the baby, and they get to go home. They don't stay at our house. We're going to turn that room into something, you know what I'm saying? But you blink, and this is what it looks like. Make the most of your time with your kids, because listen, it's not going to be long before this jar becomes this jar with your kid, and it becomes this, and it becomes this. It's not going to be long before you're going to lose all your marbles. That's what having kids does, right? You lose all your marbles. But we got to learn how to buy back that time. So let me give you a few things. If you dig into this scripture that tells us that we need to buy back time, it really gives us some in-depth. It gives us 3 things that we can use to buy back this time. Look at the verse ahead of it, though. This is the verse before, verse 15. It says, "Be careful how you live. Don't be an idiot. Okay? Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise." It says, don't do those things you shouldn't be doing. Don't live like that. Don't live like a fool, but be wise in the things that you do. And then it gives us the scripture we just looked at, 5:16. "Make the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." In other words, you're going to have to overcome some evil stuff to get this thing done. This is not going to happen on accident. You will not redeem this time. You won't wake up in the morning and go, you know what? I think I redeemed yesterday, and it just automatically happened. No, you have to work on it. There's some things that you have to do, and it's all over time. So let me give you the first formula today. Here it is: wisdom over time. We got to be wise. It says, don't live like fools, but be wise. So let's have some wisdom in our life, man. We need to have some wisdom. I love the scripture. It says that if you want wisdom, all you got to do is ask, and God will give it to you. So wisdom over time. It's not just wisdom, but it's wisdom over time. This is the formula. So if you divide time into wisdom in your life, how much would come out? Right? Like over your life. I don't mean you had one wise decision, and it was your wife or your husband that you married. Wives, y'all lucky, man. We got some good dudes in here. Dudes, y'all lucky. We got some good ladies in here. Y'all did an awesome job marrying the people you married, and some of y'all changed them, and that's why they are the way they are today. But it's a wise decision over time. So this is over time. Not one good decision, not one good purchase, but the way that you live your life over time. This is important. We have to be wise over time. Wisdom is kind of brutal, to be honest with you. This is her speaking. The Bible says wisdom shouts in the streets, and wisdom is female, if you didn't know that. According to Proverbs, wisdom is a lady. All right? How many guys are shocked? None of us are shocked. We know. Brian Hollingsworth, your wife is way wiser than you are. Smart answer. It says she cries out. So wisdom's in the street shouting. Here's what she's crying out. She's in the public square crying out. She's a little loud. She gets a little bit, she's probably redheaded, but that's a different. I'm picking. My mom's redheaded. That's why. I told her this weekend she said something a little bit fiery because she's fiery. And I said, redheaded women redheaded people, their hair grows straight from their soul. Just fire, man. They're exciting people, man. My mom, I love her. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. She was at the first service. I don't know if I told her that in the first service. If you're watching, because she loves me so much, she'll watch this thing twice. Yeah. She says she does. I hadn't confirmed that yet. But wisdom's a lady. Wisdom's female. We're not shocked by that. Y'all know. Y'all see stuff coming a mile away. That bass boat's a dumb idea, and we all know it, but we're going to go do it anyway, ain't we? Wisdom's female. Look at what she says. Come and listen to my counsel. She's drawing us in. I'll share my heart with you, and I will make you wise. Wisdom wants to draw you in and share some life with you, share some experience with you, share some things that's going to help you make better decisions, share some ways to make you redeem these, make sure you're using the most of your marbles, making sure that you're not wasting your time. She said, bring it in. We're going to huddle up. I'm going to tell you some stuff. I'm going to help. I'm going to share my heart, and I'm going to make you wise. That's what wisdom does. But here's what happens, because we don't always bring it in like she wants us to. Look, she said, I called to you so often, but you wouldn't come. Have you ever had an idea or a plan to purchase something, and you wouldn't let yourself think about it long enough because you'd talk yourself out of it? I have. That's wisdom. Wisdom be like, your car is just fine. You don't need that one. All right? That aluminum boat's just fine. You don't need the fiberglass thing you're about to go buy. The ring on your wife's finger is doing just fine. Everybody knows she married. She don't need that big old rock you're going to spend 2 years of salary on. Sorry, ladies. Wisdom's saying, look, just back it up a little bit. Don't get in a hurry. She said, I called to you, but you wouldn't even come listen. You wouldn't even huddle up. You wouldn't even come to where I was. I reached out to you, but you paid no attention. Does this sound familiar in your life? I'm trying to help you redeem some marbles. I'm trying to make sure you're making these things count. And wisdom is like, look, bring it in, and I'll show you how you can live your life to redeem the time because the days are evil. And look at this. It says, you ignored my advice, and you rejected the correction that I offered. So when you wouldn't come, you were saying, look, I don't need you. I don't need that information. And we've all been there. We've all gone and done that dumb thing that we knew we weren't supposed to do. And that was wisdom saying, just pump the brakes a little bit. Let's just take a second and talk about it. We didn't want to do that because we talk ourselves out of it, or our wife would talk us out of it, our wisdom would talk us out of it. So she's saying, I want you to bring it in. I want to try to help you, make you wise. And then wisdom's cruel a little bit. I want you to watch what wisdom says, what wisdom does if you don't obey what she tells you to do. Watch this. She says, I will laugh when you are in trouble, and I will mock when disaster overtakes you. Not if. When you don't have wisdom, disaster will come. When you don't have wisdom, in fact, the Bible tells us that this destruction will come to those who aren't wise. In fact, pride, the Bible says pride leads to destruction. And if you got pride, you don't have wisdom. You can't have both. So she says, I'm going to laugh when you're in trouble, and I'm going to mock when your disaster comes. Listen, she is the queen of I told you so. Wisdom be like, I be done told you. I told you that wasn't going to work. I told you that relationship was going to take you down the wrong path. I told you that purchase was going to put you in a financial bind. You couldn't even enjoy it. I bought a car. Listen, we bought a 1992 Chevy Cavalier and couldn't afford one payment on it. I thought, it's going to be all right. We're going to cruise in this thing. It's going to be cool. That's when Cavaliers were cool. They weren't. Cavaliers were cool, man. It was a 4-door, not a 2-door. It was the bane of my existence. Every time I looked at it, I was just like, I can't afford that. That's $119 payment. I can't afford that. That's how broke we were. $119 was everything. But we rushed into it. I've done it. You've done it. We've all done it. And listen, in life, in parenting, I've done some things. I've said some things. You ever go to open your mouth knowing you're not supposed to say the thing you're about to say to your kid because he did something stupid and you don't want to do it again? And you're like, I probably shouldn't do it while I'm angry because it's going to come out way bad, and you did it anyway? And as soon as you said it, you're like, yep, that was a mistake. That's wisdom being, I told you so. I told you not to say it. I told you not to go there. I told you not to discipline in anger. I told you not to get angry at this situation because it's going to bleed into that. And we have scarred kids, wounded and walking around because we didn't listen to wisdom. And wisdom's like, I want you to redeem these times. Don't waste these marbles. Let's redeem them. We got to redeem them. Listen, when we are wise, when we make wise decisions, it starts changing the trajectory of our life. And if we're not careful, we're going to wake up one day, we're going to realize that our marbles are all gone, and the influence that we have on our kids is starting. Now, you're going to have some, but it's not going to be the same. I remember when Megan moved off to college. She went to Birmingham for 2 years, and I remember the moments because we had the phone tracker. I still do. She turned it off on her end, though. Should probably let that go. I told her, we and Amy had that discussion. I said, we should probably just let our 21 and 20-year-old, 22-year-old kids who are grown and married and have their own cars and everything and their own houses live their life. But every once in a while, you just go check it to see what's up. So anyway, I remember checking my phone and seeing where she was at, and it was like, I couldn't sleep that night. It was like 12:30 in the morning, and she wasn't in her apartment. And I wasn't okay with it. I mean, she was like at some sort of all-night Starbucks or something. I don't know what it was. But she was hanging out with her friends. With a good group of friends, Christian friends. And here I was thinking, I can't do anything. I can't even text her. I've done all I can do. If she's out and about, then she's out and about with everything that I've tried to pour into her because I tried to make every one of these count as best I could, and there's not much I can do anymore. At some point, these marbles, they don't matter as much as they used to as far as your influence goes on your kids. You're always going to have some. My parents still have influence on me. First service, I started preaching because I normally dump one of these out. I normally dump this one out. So I'll just kind of hang over the edge right here, and I'll just kind of I'll dump the whole thing. Because your marbles are gone. I can't do it today. My wife won't let me. She's wise. She's real wise. Because last time I did it, I dumped them, and for the next 5 minutes, you just heard them hitting the walls. Just rolled around the whole room. So I stood right here, and I said, I'm not going to do it. My dad said, be a man. He didn't take it back either, so Jeremy Hutto said, now you got to do it. You can't. But that's the influence he still has on me. I want to dump the marbles out because he told me to. He's 70. I'm 40-ish. You're always going to have some kind of influence on your kids, no matter how old they are, but it's not going to be the same as it is right now. Listen, right now, as far as they're concerned, you're God. As far as they're concerned, you're it. You're the one to look up to. They want to be just like you. whether you're right or wrong or doing what you should or shouldn't do. Listen, if we ignore wisdom, disaster will come. So we need to live a life, really, I call it prudence, right? Because wisdom and prudence, they're real. Living a life of wisdom is living a prudent life. So here's what the Bible tells us about prudence: is our wisdom dwell together with prudence. It's wisdom's roommate. I did a message on that called Wisdom's Roommate, so you can go check that out. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks now. But when you have prudence in your life, you're doing the right things at the right time for the right reason. And so here's the first thing we got to do: we have to live prudently, and that's wisdom. Having wisdom in your life, you're living prudently. You're living with prudence in your life. Here's that same verse of Scripture back to Ephesians 5:16 in a different version. It says, redeeming the time because the days are evil. Listen, if we're going to do this, it's going to take some action. Listen, these marbles will not be redeemed on accident. You're not just going to wake up one day and go, you know what, I wasn't really trying, but I think I was a pretty doggone good parent. No, it's going to take some responsibility. It's going to take you getting up off the couch. It's going to take you getting up a little bit early. Listen, if your kid wants to go running at 5 a.m., pray for them first, but think about it, right? Consider it. He says you're going to redeem the time. It's going to take some effort. So listen, here's the second thing we need: not just wisdom over time, but zeal over time. Have some spunk in your step. And I'm not a spunky person. Like, I'm not an outgoing, I'm not a spur of the moment, let's go get in the car and go drive for 3 hours. That ain't me. I have to work on that. I have to make myself say yes when I really want to say no. I have to make myself say yes, I want to go do that when I really want to go home and take a nap. I have to make myself do those things. This weekend, I'm tired this weekend, not because I work, because I've been playing. We played in a golf tournament Friday, and I think we won the whole thing. I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. 60 teams. We were in the top 60, so we did pretty good, me and Jeremy. And so we had a great time, but it was hot. You want to go home, take a shower, and just chillax. I'm on my way home, and my son calls me. What are we doing tomorrow? Which is code for let's go fishing. What are we doing tomorrow means I want to go fishing. What you think? And so I'm like, well, I'm preaching on zeal tomorrow, so I should probably say yes at this point because I want to have a good story to tell y'all guys about going. No, not really. I'm thinking about these. I'm down to 75 marbles with him. I'm like, how many more times is he going to call me on a Friday and say, hey, let's go fishing tomorrow? Very few. I don't have a whole lot left. I don't have a whole lot of Saturday mornings left with him. So I said, you know what? I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm hot. I'm sunburnt. Let's go fishing in the morning. So he starts inviting people. Now it's on, right? He starts inviting people. Now you got to go. So anyway, we're thinking about it. He's like, you know what? Let's go here. I said, well, we got there early. We got up at 5:45. Yeah. On a Saturday to go fishing. Caught some fish. We had a great time, awesome time. Came home, got them all cleaned up, cooked it last night. It was awesome. I'm burnt. I'm tired. I'm spent. But I had a little zeal. I said, you know what? Fishing ain't my thing. I don't love to fish, but I love my son. So I'm going fishing. Y'all, I could never fish another day for the rest of my life. I'd be all right with it. I'll come to your house and eat some of your fish, but I don't have to go catch them. But my wife loves to fish. My son loves to fish, so I have a bass boat. That's how it works. If you're not married yet, that's how it works. But I'm looking at my marbles, y'all, and I'm saying, I don't have a, yesterday was fun. We had a great time. Probably won't ever forget it. Had a great time. But you got to have some zeal. There's got to be some energy. You got to do it on purpose. It doesn't happen on accident. And we're redeeming. So if we're going to redeem the time, it's going to take some action. Listen, when you redeem a coupon, it takes action. You got to cut it out. Well, old school, you had to cut it out of the paper in it. Y'all remember those days? You had to cut out the coupons and bring them with you. And then sometimes you had to hand them the coupon as you gave them the item. It wasn't just like back, now it's just like they click 2 buttons and now you got $37 off. No, you had to give them a coupon for everyone. We shopped once a month. So we had about $500 worth of groceries when I was younger, and my mom had a great briefcase with coupons in it. I hate that briefcase. I'm embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. So she'd pull one out. Y'all know what I'm talking about. They'd pull one out, and it wouldn't be the right size for the right item. It'd be like an 8-ounce, and she got a 4-ounce coupon. We had to go get a 4-ounce and go bring it. I was just like, I'll give you the 3 cents, Mom. Here, let's just go. Let's get out of here. But guess what? To redeem took some zeal, took some time, took some organization. But it was over time. Financially, it made sense. Financially, we saved hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But it's going to take some effort and some energy on your part to take these steps. The Bible tells us some pretty interesting stuff about zeal. It says, for the grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation to all men. So he saved us all, instructing us to the intent that, denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly and righteously and godly in this present world. So he's given us some ways to be wise, So he's telling you, hey, look, live wisely, do some of the right things, deny ungodliness, deny worldly lust, live soberly, don't act stupid, live soberly and righteously and godly in this present world where you're at right now, looking for the blessed hope and appearing of the glory of the great God and our Savior Jesus Christ, and watch this, who gave himself for us. So here's why we're doing it. I want you to see this. Here's why. Because he gave himself a ransom for us. He bought us back. He bought our freedom eternally. Listen, that's exciting. We should be the most zealous people in the world should be church people. And I don't mean because you go to church. I mean because you know Jesus. Christians, Christ followers should be the most zealous. Listen, you should be able to contain the energy in a church on Sunday morning because of what's going on, because we're celebrating what God did for us. I told the story probably a couple of years ago, but we were in Brooklyn Tab, and they told the story about one Sunday, a young man came down. He was on the front row worshiping, and he was getting his worship on. I mean, he was dancing and shouting and hands up and probably spinning around in circles. And listen, half of the people weren't worshiping because they were watching him worship. That's another thing. Sometimes we watch other people worship. We need to get on our own worship. So he's worshiping. The pastor stops the service. He gets on stage and says, I noticed that about half of y'all quit worshiping, watching him worship. You don't know his story. He's been in prison for decades. He just got out last night. He got saved. This is his first church service in 30 years. That's called zeal. Like you couldn't keep it inside of him. He was so pumped and excited. But here's the deal. Some of y'all been in prison spiritually for 30 years, and you got set free. It's time to get zealous. It's time to get pumped up. He redeemed us from all iniquity. How much? All. So what's the side effect? Being zealous. Look what happens. He purified himself a people for his own possession. Here's why. Being zealous of good works. Being energized to go do some good stuff. I heard a story this weekend about people going to help people move. I love that. The church people people who, they're not plugged into a church as far as we know. They're friends and connected, and so they just like, hey, let's go help them. So they're just plugging in and help them. Why? They're zealous of good works. And you know those people. You know those people, if they find out you're struggling or doing something that they need help with, they're going to show up at your house. Eric Stevens is one of those people. He ain't here, so I can talk about him. I had a busted pipe during the freeze. I called him to see if he had an extra 3/4-inch PVC because that was nowhere to be found around here. He was at Life Group, and I called him back. He's like, yeah, I'm about to head your way. I'm like, no, bro, stay alive. I'll figure it out. You know why? He's zealous for good works. He wants to go help somebody. Some of us have been so long since we helped somebody, we forgot what it really feels like. Be zealous for good works. Why? And listen, not to be saved. Watch this. It's the evidence of salvation. So it says he redeemed us from all iniquity so that we'll be zealous for good works. And then watch the end of this. Actually, this is the end. Let me jump to Revelation real quick. Romans. Romans says we never be lacking in zeal. Never be lacking in zeal. Always be zealous, but keep the spiritual fervor. Here's why you're zealous, to serve the Lord. So here's what we got to do. We got to live passionately. Not just prudently, not with wisdom, but live with passion, man. Live a passion life. Make the most of every one of these marbles because they will be gone at some point. Make the most of it. Here's the next verse of Scripture after Ephesians 5:16. Here's 17. Look at this. It says, don't act thoughtlessly, but understand what the Lord wants you to do. Don't act thoughtlessly. Don't just go through life not even considering what you're doing, but understand what the Lord wants you to do. God's calling every one of you here to something. That's why we have dream teams. In fact, we talked about volunteerism this week, and that's a word we just don't ever use around here. We don't have volunteers, because here's what a volunteer does. A volunteer helps somebody else complete their mission. A team member helps us complete our mission. So you guys that serve, you aren't volunteers, you're team members, right? Because we're all on the same team. I'm a team member. You're a team member. Well, what's the difference? The difference is we're focused on something. It's not thoughtlessly. We're not thoughtlessly handing something out or watching a baby or high-fiving. We're part of the team. We all got a purpose. We're all going in the same direction at the same speed at the same time. It's important that we get a hold of this idea that we're gonna do the thing God called us to do. We don't have this church without anything else better to do. God called me to it. He's called you to it. And it's time to get to work, to stay working and get to work and do even more for the kingdom of God. I want to share this story with you. I didn't even share this in the first service, but and I want you to know because you're part of this. I was at Rouse's this week, and I love me some Rouse's, man. So I'm at Rouse's shopping, and so I got like 3 or 4 items, which is, I try to go in with no buggy, because if you go in with a buggy, then you're going to have more stuff. But I usually end up dropping something because I'm trying to hold more stuff than I went in with. So anyway, I'm walking. I only have a handful of things. And this lady is, her and her husband, they're kind of turned. We're at the register at the same time, and she's a little bit ahead of me, and she stops, says, "Hey, you go ahead." And I looked, and her buggy was full. I'm talking about full. And as soon as she said, "You go ahead in front of me," the Holy Spirit said, "Pay for her food." I was like, and this is not. I'll tell you the whole story. So I just saw meat. There was just meat all in this buggy, y'all. And I couldn't get over how much meat they bought. Like, I'm talking about, like, it was stacked in there. So anyway, I had 3 or 4 items, so I was real quick done. And I thought it's going to be weird if I just stand here and I just watch them check out. Can you imagine being done and just standing there watching the next person check out? That's really weird. So I was like, I can't do that. So I was like, you know what? Maybe that was just bad pizza or something. Maybe that wasn't the Holy Spirit telling me to pray. I mean, there's no way he would tell me to pay for their food, and they got that much meat in the buggy. They just can't be from Jesus. So I think Jesus is vegetarian. But anyway, that's another. He's not. So I get out to my truck, and I pretty much had convinced myself that wasn't God and that I shouldn't do it. And the Holy Spirit just kind of reiterated, that he wanted to do it from the church. He wanted the church to do it. And so anyway, I loaded my groceries up, y'all. I literally backed out of my parking spot, and I was leaving. And I was going towards the store to leave and go out by CVS. And the very first closest parking spot in that parking lot was open. Like, all right, I'll go. So I pulled in, I got out, I went inside. They were still checking out. But at this point, I was like, this is going to be fun. At this point, I was like, I can't wait to do this. And that's how I felt the whole time, but I did keep looking at this pile of meat, okay? I couldn't get past the meat. But the more I looked at the buggy, the more I realized it was cheap stuff. It was, cheap pork chops and, turkey necks and, stuff that's just really like, crazy cut stuff. And I realized it was a lot of cheap stuff that they had bought. And so I'm telling you, they were still checking out. So I walked in and I went to the counter. And at this point, I realized the Lord wanted me to do it from the church through the church. So you guys are part of this. That's why I'm telling you the story. And so I walk up and I told the lady behind the counter, I said, I want to pay for their food. She's like, nuh-uh. I thought she meant I couldn't. Like that was illegal or something. Maybe they already paid or something. She was like, no. I was like, I can't. She was like, you can't do that. I was like, well, why not? She was like, that's too much. You can't. It wasn't because I couldn't do it. It was because she's thinking I shouldn't do it because, and I'm telling y'all that now the couple was super, super happy about it. I mean, they were in awe. He was like, no, man. I was like, no, I'm telling you, guys called me to do it. I started telling them about the church. The lady behind the counter, y'all, she just couldn't even finish ringing them up. She was just like staring at me like. I mean, so I don't know if it was for the family or for the lady behind the register. But I said, here you go. And so I told them about our church and what was going on here and what God was doing. Come to find out, I pushed their buggy out to the car. Now, here's how the devil gets in your mind. When you do good things, in fact, let me just give you this point real quick and let me finish the story. Well-doing is the other thing over time. Do things well. Do the right things over time. Don't do one good thing. Don't pay for somebody's meal one time and then 10 years later pick up somebody else's tab. Keep doing it. So I'm pushing the buggy out. I was like, hey, I'll push it out for y'all. And it was full and heavy, so I'm pushing it out. And so I'm talking to the guy, and the devil gets in my head, and I'm like, I'm about to roll up on a 2021 Ford Explorer. That's what I'm about to roll up on. I already know. Y'all, it was a little old Hyundai that those aren't Hyundais, right? But it was like 1996. I mean, it was old school. The side view mirror was held on by duct tape, and it wasn't working, so it was not hanging on the side. And I was just like, yep, God, you're all over this. And I got in my truck and tried to leave, and the Holy Spirit said, no, do some well-doing. And do it in my name. So I did it in the church's name, told them all about the church, what God was doing. They were blown away. Come to find out this guy wants to do a ministry for special needs families, not just the kids, but for the families as well. He said the parents struggle with that as well. I said, you know what, you're right. It's very stressful to be a parent of a special needs child. So he's got this big vision about ministry, and we talked about ministry all the way back to the car. It was amazing. And I almost drove off from it. I almost left. And that parking spot opened up, and I said, all right, I'm going in. It was amazing. Don't do it one time. Look, don't go help somebody move one time. Don't go cut somebody's yard for free one time. Keep doing it. If you want to make the most of these marvels, because let me just tell you, your kids are watching you help other people. It's not just about you. It's about the next generation. It's about the next generation. He tells us what we're supposed to do if we're really going to pour into and see the next generation thrive, and not just our generation but theirs, but also ours. Here's what he tells us to do. Here's what we should do. He says, don't be drunk with wine because that will ruin your life, but instead be filled with the Spirit. That's the difference. Don't lean on the things of the world. Lean on the spiritual things of God. Lean on Him. Be filled with the Spirit. It's real simple. You know how you get filled with the Spirit? Ask Him to do it. Lord, fill me with your Spirit. And get ready to go do some well-doing because He's going to put some stuff on your heart. But He says, don't do this because it'll ruin your life. You know anybody like that that's been in that boat? Alcohol ruined their life. Drugs ruined their life. Don't do all that. But instead, be filled with the Spirit. I love Romans 12:21. It tells us this. It says, don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. So we want to live prudently. We want to live. Listen, you got to have prudence in life. You got to have some wisdom. You really do. You got to have that wisdom in your life, and you got to live with passion. You got to have some zeal. But here's the third thing. Let me give you real quick before we close. And that is live progressively. In other words, keep getting better. Right? Keep doing more. Keep going further. Listen. This was by far the biggest bill of anybody I've ever paid for in a store like that. I'm trying to do more today than I did yesterday. Not because I'm trying to earn salvation no, I'm trying to, actual phrasing for this idea of doing well means to bloom and grow, right? That's what it means. It means to flourish. It means to get better and get bigger and get more beautiful. It means bloom and grow. Now, some of us bloom and grow differently. You know what I'm saying? But get better at life because this is slipping away. It's slipping away, y'all. You know, the older you get, the faster it goes. The older you get, the faster it goes. Is this the marble you're on this week? Are you going to make it count? What are you going to do to make it count this week? Live wisely. I saw a meme I want to share with you. It's actually just a picture that I want to share with you this morning to help us understand how important time is. And so when I saw it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. But it's a young guy, a middle-aged guy, and then an older guy. And when you're younger, you have time and energy but no money. All right, that's where we've all been there, 18, 20, 25. You got time and energy, but you ain't got no money to do anything. Then as you get middle-aged, like where most of us are today, you got money and energy, but you don't have no time because you're spending all your energy trying to make the money, and you don't have any time. So you don't have time to spend with your family. Your life is busy. You're traveling a lot. All those things happen. So you don't have this time here in this section. And then as you get older, you have time and money, but you don't have any energy. And you're always missing one of those elements. And what I'm trying to help us do today is buy some of this back. We need to buy some of this back. We need to buy some of these marbles back and say, God, I want to redeem this time. I want to get it back. I want to have some wisdom. I want to have some prudence in my life. I want to be passionate and have some zeal, and I want to do some well-doing. I want to go take that zeal and wisdom and go help somebody. Go make a difference. That's how you buy back time. That's how we purchase this time. That's how we redeem the time because the days are evil. Because the days are evil. And when the world sees us stepping up as a church and helping someone, praying over someone, when God calls you to pray for that person in a public space, do it. And it usually ain't for you or that person. It's for the people watching. Now, God will answer it. He'll do some awesome stuff. But we got to be focused on what God's called us to do. And when we take that step and do those things, we will start purchasing back these marbles, and we'll start investing them into tomorrow. Which one are you on with your kids? Birth, 5th grader, 13-year-old, 5-year-old, 13-year-old, or you have a teenager like I do. And two of my containers are gone. They're empty. I have no more marbles left with my girls. It's over with. Now, I still have influence, but it's not the same. Where are you at? Let's make our time count. Let's make our time count and watch what God does with it.